Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot follow instructions. Jeff just told me to count down from 15 in my head, and we would start. But I actually counted up from 0 to 15.
And you failed it miserably. I'm not going to lie. It was a complete failure on your part.
Welcome to Kingdom of Honor.
Complete failure.
Welcome to Kingdom of Honor. I am your host, Zanman Shane Sabunia, along with my good buddy, co-host Jeff, and the Honorable Jeff, in fact. And we're trying something new tonight, so we're trying to be live on our YouTube channel at the same time. We're going live on LOP Radio on Spreaker.com for Lords of Pain. So, Jeff, tell them what our YouTube channel is in case they want to do it there.
All kinds of exciting things. And to be honest, I'm not really sure if I've figured it out yet, but I think it might be youtube.com/Kingdom of Honor. The live stream might be something a little bit different, but if you are listening to this either live or in, not live, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you can get all of our content as soon as it does hit the air, whether it's live or not. And hit a like on this stream. If this is working right, I will be able to see live comments as well, and we can comment on those as go. So just a favor, comment, hit the subscribe button, and ring that notification bell so we can give you more. Coming in the near future, and I'm working on getting something uploaded now, but we are looking at doing a live not Kingdom of Honor and a Dynamite After Dark at least once per month. It will be a special, maybe non-wrestling show live on YouTube whenever we can, and that's something that we're looking forward to going. But otherwise, you can check us out on Patreon. Patreon of our content is, whether it's the archive stuff, whether it's our Patreon or YouTube exclusive shows. So make sure you check those out whenever you can.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you guys. We know we love you guys, and we want to give you the content that you deserve. And we love, Jeff and I would do this show with 0 listeners, and so we're glad for the we do have, and we love you guys. But we just love talking wrestling. We love talking Marvel. We love talking Star Wars. Whatever out there, whatever pop culture out there that we dig, we love bringing it to you guys. Tonight, of
Jesus, course, we do music, we do what are some of the other things we do? Sci-fi shows, whatever we find interesting, we like to talk about because, well, Shane likes to talk.
And I also want to just bring up the fact that I kind of pissed Jeff off a little bit tonight by telling him that I'm sitting here drinking.
Kind of.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize to you guys that we weren't able to do the show last night, and if the internet's a little bit wonky tonight, I'm sitting in a hotel room instead of my usual place at home because I'm on the company dime on a business trip to reorganize some training for our company. And last night we had a business meeting with the vice president of operations for the company, and I think we had a good discussion that may result in me getting a higher position and higher pay, which I'm very excited about. But also, I'm sitting here drinking a black cherry Manhattan, and Jeff is out of his mind with envy and jealousy.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying. I'm just always out of my mind with envy and jealousy over you.
Clearly. Speaking of people being out of their minds with envy and jealousy, I have no idea what to think about the controversy that happened over the weekend, but it sure as hell seems like very convenient timing that on the night that she was having the biggest night of her career, or on the eve of the biggest night of her career, all of a sudden, seemingly every professional women's wrestler in the world came down on Tessa Blanchard for being a racist, for holding other women down, for, being a complete dick to people, spitting in their faces, and it's...
calling them racial slurs.
Calling them racial... Yeah, I said being a racist, but yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely insane the amount of backlash she got by posting on Twitter that women should be supporting each other.
Did you see who started it, though?
It was Chelsea Green.
And this is something... Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. This is something that that I really wanted to, and I'm glad you started with this because to me, this is one of the biggest topics of the weekend. And it wasn't the fact that, and I'm not going to spoil it, but she had the biggest match of her life in a company that was about to make major, major worldwide headlines. And I've seen the match. I've seen the outcome. I know what happened, and I know you haven't yet, so I'm not going to, spoil it for you. But the biggest night, not only of her life, but in wrestling history.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second. You know what? This is more important than the results of a wrestling match. So let me know what happened. Go ahead and spoil it.
She won.
Wow. Okay.
She ended up winning, and as far as from we talk about the wrestling and how that really factors into stuff. And from a wrestling angle and from a wrestling perspective, I feel like it was the wrong move. I think it was too early for her. I think that at this point, it's more of a gimmick. It's more of that Bray Wyatt, he's the hot guy, so let's throw the title on him type thing. But when you look at the landscape, she beat Impact's probably best performer. She did it against a guy who she has, a decent feud with, and she finally got her comeuppance against OVE. She is from a wrestling. This is such a weird time because this is something that will put Impact on the map. It's something that will, make them the talk of the town for the next few weeks. It's doing great things for Tessa Blanchard. It was done right from a wrestling perspective, from a normal storyline perspective. I just honestly wish they wouldn't have pulled the trigger yet. I wish they would have drawn it out maybe until their next pay-per-view. I think that they have in April. Is it April or May when their next pay-per-view is? I wish it would have been drawn out a little bit more, but I can't argue with the results because there's so much riding on this. There's so much that comes out of this one moment that people are going to be talking about for decades, that it's hard for me to say it was the wrong time from a creative perspective. The battles she's had with Sammy and OVE, it's time for her to get her comeuppance. And had it been any other wrestler, this is, the third. This is her third match with Sammy, right?
Her third one-on-one match, yeah.
Yeah, so when you look at it that way, it was time for it to happen from a wrestling perspective. And the fact that, and I'm kind of going to go sideways here, the fact that this was done by WWE's own Chelsea Green really, really makes me wonder what the motivation behind her coming out this time and starting this whole little internet war was.
That's a good point. I want to get back to what you were saying just for a second, and that is that storyline-wise, I really felt like coming into this match that, as much as we love Sammy, his time as champion was short because of the build-up to Tessa, because, she'd been on such a roll. She pinned Brian Cage to get this opportunity, for God's sake.
Right.
And she's had this war going on with not only Sammy, but the entire OVE for the last 6 months. So, or maybe it's 5, 5, 6, whatever. So basically, like, it had to happen to, as far as I was concerned. It either had to happen at this show, or it was going to take another year for it to be built back up to that level.
From a wrestling timeline, this was perfect.
It had to happen. Yep. And I just want to applaud Impact for having the guts to follow through on it after the controversy over the weekend.
No, and
if they believed it was a lot of smoke with no fire, which I kind of believe, then I think they made the right call. But also, it took a lot of balls for them to stick with that booking, knowing how much flack she was getting out on the internet and how much, I don't know how else to say it. She was getting people completely out, not in her corner, and down on her, and assuming that all this was true. I think in a lot of cases. And I think, you've got to, for them to stick with what they were going to do and not shy away from the controversy an awesome move.
Yeah, that is very true, and I hope they saw through it in the fact that it was started by Chelsea Green, which, if you think about, Chelsea Green was with Impact for a couple of years before she signed with NXT. She's now a developmental talent, so she's not one of their top-notch, main event. I don't even think she's been on NXT TV yet, has she? Not that I've seen.
Not that I've seen, but I don't follow it either.
So the fact that this was started by somebody kind of lowbrow in NXT is a good way for WWE to hide the fact that they were behind this. And I'm sorry, Vince. I'm sorry if this makes your feelings hurt, or Triple H or anybody. It just seems like a lowbrow thing that we've known WWE to do in the past, to take the shine away from another company when they are on the verge of doing something monumental.
That's what they do. They hold everybody down.
Yeah.
They even ran a show last night. They ran a show at the same time as All Out. They are doing everything they can to counter program.
Same time is hard to kill.
Right, but they also ran the same day as All Out as well. They're
right.
They're doing everything they can to counter program the other organizations out there. They ran the Evolve 10th anniversary show on the same day as Spider Fest.
Yeah.
They're doing.
They
counter program any other competition, and they can and this is just something else that could easily have been like, hey, watch our program. Don't spend $40 to watch Impact because they're going to put the title on a woman who hates other women.
Right. And I kind of side with them in the business perspective because that is a smart business thing to do. But from a popularity perspective, I think eventually they counter-programmed a charity show. And now they counter-programmed this or not necessarily, I guess they didn't really counter-program it because UK happened much earlier in the day. But the fact that they can't, and I think I should probably stop saying things now because there's no proof that this was them making waves. There's no proof, but let's put it this way: all signs point that way. Chelsea Green worked with Tessa for years, and then she's now NXT. She's been NXT. She's low-level NXT, where she's not even on TV, and she came out with all these allegations that, true or not, it depends on the moment when it happened and where Tessa was. Young heels do odd things. Remember, we talked about this with Austin. Is it Austin Matthews? Who was the guy from Evolve? Austin Idol. No, not Austin Idol.
I can't think of his name right now, but he's actually in NXT now.
Regardless, we talked about it with him about how he took that cheap shot against his competitor, and I said at that point, that's what's that?
I said, God, we suck at names.
Well, we've never been good at them. Anyone that listens to this show for almost 4 years we've been doing it now knows that we are not good at this stuff. This is not a this is not a well-run, well-produced show. You are going to get screw-ups. It just happens. But we said it during that Evolve show that he took that low-brow shot against that guy's kids. And I said at the time, I felt like that was more of a rookie heel mistake. This guy is trying to get heat, and he's not thinking. He's going out there and just doing what he can to get that heat. And I think when you look at the timeline of when Tessa made that racial slur against the lady in Japan, that may or may not have just been a rookie mistake. Mm-hmm. She's out there trying to draw heel heat what better way to draw heel heat than go with the racial slur?
Right. And it's
whether you believe it or not, these...
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Okay, so it's Austin. Nobody tweet us. It's Austin Theory, and it was the guy he was denigrating for about his kids was J.D. Drake.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Somebody tweeted that.
No, I looked it up. And I just said nobody needs to tweet us that. I looked it up.
Oh, okay. But yeah, and you're right. And it was an ill-timed move by Austin. But at the same time, to me, he's only been in the business a couple of years. He's out there trying to draw as much heel heat as he can, making that kind of, horrible comment in the heat of the moment is almost forgivable because of what he's trying to do as a performer. And I felt that same way when I found the timeline of this whole incident with Tessa Blanchard. Now, the other bullying stuff, true or not, let's face it, Shaden bullies me at work all day, every day. It just depends on the way that you look at it as far as whether it's bullying or not. And I can't get down on her for that. I guess this is where I'm going with that.
Yeah, and actually, no. Just to clarify, like for the theory stuff, we didn't think it was anything that he said that was like completely too personal and stuff in the ring. It was simply that, it was something that, as a storyline perspective, should have been something that J.D. Drake would have won the match because he had said something like that.
Right. I mean, it was still probably a little off color. Maybe shouldn't have happened. But in all, it was more of a rookie mistake than it was something to get all upset about.
Exactly. And I think the same thing. I agree with you. Like, I mean, Tessa in Japan, I mean, she's only, 23 years old now? So, I mean...
Something like that, yeah.
It's 22, 23, so, I mean, clearly a rookie mistake. Clearly when she was younger, she could have grown from it. And, who cares what a bunch of slants think anyway?
God, I'm glad I put the no kids filter on this one. Oh, Jesus. We made it 10 minutes before we screwed this up.
Clearly, I'm kidding. I mean, some of my favorite wrestlers on the planet are Japanese, so clearly I was just making a joke.
Speaking of Japanese, I need to transition here, and there's a couple other things I want to get back to, and we'll get back to them, but New Year's Dash. Wow. What a show.
Yeah. I really
I skipped over a couple of the 8-man tags, but I did watch a few of them. I thought, the Bullet Club versus Finjuice and Kota and Tanahashi was an amazing match.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Ironically, not the best match on the night, though. Chase Owens, though, I want to stop on this one for a little bit because Chase Owens needs a ton of credit. That guy has come so far in the last few years to the point where I felt like even with Tanahashi and Kota in there and God, he carried that match. His performance was amazing.
He has become the ultimate glue guy in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He keeps those 6-man, 8-man, even regular tag matches, together. And he's a great leader for Bullet Club. He directs the action. And he's one guy that you and I talked about, last Wednesday night. I mentioned he needs to be in that mix for the Never Championship. And he needs to get
absolutely.
And he needs to get a singles program this year.
And he's earned it. I mean, just his performance in this match alone, his aggressiveness, the way that he was able to hold his own against Kota, who we've talked about time and time again, has become one of the pillars of the organization. And he was able to hold his own against Kota and look good doing it. Yep. And his aggressiveness, the way that he tried to get Kota to come over, and then when Kota finally slapped his hand away, he just went ape on the guy. And then throughout the match, he seemed to be the hardest hitting guy. He seemed to be the guy that was, really pushing the match forward from a storyline perspective. I can't say enough about how far Chase Owens has come in the last couple of years.
I mean, and the other guy that you and I think is right there with him is David Finlay. Those two
And
guys
David,
are just the difference I think is that Finlay has got himself in amazing shape, whereas Chase looks like a pro wrestler from like the from
a
like the
potato.
from like the late '80s, early '90s. You know what I mean?
He looks like the.
But I
Have you
think
ever,
that plays
you've seen
really
Toy
well.
Story, right?
But I think that plays really well into his heel persona too.
You've seen Toy Story, the original Toy
Dude,
Story.
it was written by Joss
when
Whedon. Of course, I saw it.
when Potato Head comes out and said he's Picasso,
Yeah,
that's Chase Owens.
absolutely.
Picasso Potato Head is Chase Owens. And I think didn't
Oh
Rocky
my God, we're gonna have to call him that from now on.
didn't Rocky have a joke about how he needs to hit Slim fast too?
Yeah.
There was something Rocky said that was hilarious, and Gino immediately was like, hey, stop that. And we talk all the time about how 3-man booths are a little bit overrated if they're not done right. That 4-man booth that they had for Wrestle Kingdom and New Year's Dash, just the dichotomy between Gino and Rocky made it work so well.
Yeah.
Those two were at each other.
Go ahead.
Those two were at each other's throats all night long. All three of the night, night 2 and New Year's Dash, and it was so much fun to watch or listen to.
For so
Just
many years,
so much fun.
For so many years, another organization has tried to have this situation where they've got the straight play-by-play guy, and they've got the babyface color guy, and they've got the heel color guy, and nobody has ever pulled it off the way that New Japan does.
No, they do such a great job of it.
We heard it when Don Callis was there, trading back and forth with Rocky occasionally. Now Rocky is great with Gino Bambino, or Gino Gambino, whatever the hell his name is. And then you got Chris Charlton just popping in there with his
like Tenay role,
with his historical New Japan knowledge, because he knows so much about the history of that promotion, and also translating things, and kind of like bridging the gap between the Japanese storytelling and the American version of storytelling. But then you got the best play-by-play guy in the business, Kevin Kelly.
And as much as I like Ian Riccaboni, yes, there's no question Kevin Kelly is. This booth reminds me a lot of, and even when Rocky's not there, it reminds me so much of that WCW booth from, about mid 98 till about 2000, when you had Shivani, Heenan, and Tenay in it.
Yeah.
Such a great, you have that great color, but you have the great play-by-play guy, which is, people like to knock on Tony Schiavone for his outros of every show and the fact that he really didn't talk much about the match, but all in all, he was a great play-by-play guy. Bobby Heenan, I don't know that has ever been a better color guy in the business than Bobby Heenan, and then Mike Tenay was there for the knowledge, just those little, just those little tiny nuggets of knowledge that he put in there. And I think with Kevin Kelly, Chris Gambino, or Gino Gambino, and Chris, what's his last name?
Charlton.
I think they are the closest to that late 90s WCW announce team that there's been since that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the great thing about Charlton is like you talked about, like Mike Tenay would kind of like, and he was kind of like that way for the Luchadors. He would tell us about like what they did in AAA and all that kind of stuff. And Charlton does that for New Japan for the young, how they were as young lions, what they did 10 years ago when there wasn't such a big United States following, and it wasn't so nationally known. And I think he's fantastic at it. He really is. The other thing I'll say about Chris Charlton is, if you really want to know more about the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Puro Resso in the Egg Dome, in Tokyo Dome, he's got a great book about the history of Japan of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and how it how it started, how it almost failed, and how it was brought back by, Hiroshi Tanahashi and company, called Lion's Pride. And he's got a great book about basically the history of Puro Resso inside Tokyo Dome called Eggshells. So, where he basically breaks down every single card that's ever happened inside the Tokyo Dome. And for those who don't know, Puro Resso is Japanese professional wrestling.
I didn't want to know that, but I'm okay with it.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. No, I learned knowledge.
Yeah,
that makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a term that kind of comes from, and I guess you could look at it as a little bit racist, but basically, for the Japanese way that they would say, with the way that they pronounce American words, professional wrestling. It would come up as Puro Refo Professional, Puro Refo Resso Ringo. And so that's been shortened over the years to Puro Resso.
I just don't even know what to say right now. Your knowledge just has me dumbfounded.
Well, I wasn't trying to dumbfound you, but I'll also say that you and I are going to agree with the best match on this card was. But I also loved the hell out of that 4-team tag match. That junior heavyweight tag.
The
match.
Juniors. Yeah, that was the only problem I had with that is that Desperado and Jesus, I can never say the dude's name. Kanemaru. That was my only problem is that they got the win. The way they got the win and the fact that it was a callback to their first run with Bushi spraying his, competitor / face partner in the face with the mist was kind of cool. But the fact that they, those two got the nod really does kind of bug me because I just think their time has passed.
Well, Despy just got back from a serious injury again, and
it's his third serious injury.
Yeah, and we just had the Bullet Club team as the champs for a long time, and then you've got on the other team you got Hiromu, who's already the junior heavyweight the junior heavyweight singles champion. So it makes sense that those two, that team would be the ones that are the first challengers for. Roppongi 3K.
Speaking of Bullet Club, though, before we get on to, how good the rest of the teams looked, how good did ELP look? Again, this kid is one of the most underrated talents on this roster, and he keeps proving it time and time again.
I don't know. I don't know if he's underrated. I don't see anybody saying anything bad about him. I mean,
nobody's setting
super good, and he's like down on the pecking order because of how talented the guys in front of him are. But I mean, he's definitely still in that mix for that junior heavyweight title, I think.
But that's why I think he's being downplayed and underrated is because nobody ever talks about him in that mix.
You and I do.
Well, yeah, but you've seen our listeners. How many people do we influence? 3? Maybe 4?
But we do appreciate you listening, so don't turn it off just because you're 3 or 4 listeners.
So we love all 3 of you. Let's just put it that. Well, 4. If there's 4, we love you 4. But I'm just saying that when people talk about the next in line for the junior heavyweight division, it's always Takahashi is the champ right now, and people talked about Bushi in that. People were talking about both Yo and Sho during that match. People were talking about Bone Soldier. Yeah, I mean, and they, of course, always Ospreay. But not one person mentioned ELP, and nobody has ever mentioned ELP in that light. But he seems to consistently be the guy that every time I watch a tag match, every time I watch a singles match, he's the guy that steals the show.
You know, I
And I
think you
felt like
might
there were.
be. I think you're a little bit off base here, honestly. I mean, if you think about the fact that EOP has been the British cruiserweight champion for like 11 months now, he won.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, he won the Super J Cup last year in the States for New Japan, and he beat Ospreay to do it. And he was half of the junior tag champions for like the last 7 months of the year. So, and he had an incredible run, and was he had an incredible run in the Best of the Super Juniors behind only Ospreay and Shingo. So I don't think that there's anybody out there that isn't on board that ELP is a fantastic on the rise talent, and in fact isn't like the present. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the guy that takes the title from Hiromu later on this year. But I think that first of all, Ryu Lee is going to get his shot, and then Robbie Eagles pinned Hiromu at one of the Road 2 shows, so he should get his shot. But I think ELP might be the guy taking it down the road, especially since I think Ospreay should be moving up to the heavyweight division.
Well, we've said that about Ospreay for a couple of years, and he keeps being thrown back into the juniors.
But now they've
which
got
is hard.
Eagles, now they've got ELP, and now Takahashi's back. There's no room for Ospreay in the junior division. Except for,
and there's
he'll be there for sure for the Best of the Super Juniors, but I think after that we're going to see him springboard to the heavyweights.
I hope so, because I think his run in the G1 was so disappointing that they have to course correct that somehow.
Disappointing results-wise, not match quality.
Disappointing match-wise. His matches weren't that great either. He got destroyed by some of the top in the heavyweights.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of damage control that needs to be done there for him to legitimately jump up into that heavyweight division. I think had he had a stronger run in the G1, maybe he could jump up there this year easily, but I just think with his performance and the fact that he got destroyed by a couple of heavyweights, he needs some course correction. Now, believe me, with his performances...
Go ahead.
With his performances, the fact that he was easily probably the best in-ring performer last year. I mean, Sammy, we rated him second, right? Right behind Sammy?
Yes.
Because we had Sammy's just character and out of the ring performance as slightly better than Ospreay. But in-ring performance last year, Ospreay was easily number one on pretty much every list you can think of. And I think he could do that against heavyweights, but I think the fact that they literally let him flounder against heavyweights has really, really, really hurt him.
I'm thinking back to like the last few years when at the anniversary show we've had the junior heavyweight champion take on the heavyweight champion, and now I'm like totally salivating at the fact that might mean that we get Hiromu Takahashi take on Tetsuya Naito.
It's not going to happen.
Why?
It's not going to happen.
Just because they're in the same stable? We saw Ospreay versus Okada.
Just because they're not on the same level. I mean, at the time, Ospreay was being pushed as that heavyweight against White and Okada because of his... he had his Never run. He had a few other heavyweight matches. And who was it the year before? Was it Ospreay the year before too?
It was Ospreay and Okada, yeah.
And then last year was Ospreay and White. So I mean, it's been Ospreay the last couple of years who's been pushed against the heavyweights. Takahashi has never been pushed against a heavyweight ever.
Well, the year before that, it was Okada against, what was he called? Tiger Mask something, which is actually Ibushi.
I have no clue. I kind of took a year off of wrestling around then.
Yeah, that was right before Shibata's accident. Incident, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I still have never watched that match. And I refuse to. I will never watch that match where Shibata got hurt, ever.
I don't blame you. It's a fantastic match, but I don't blame you for not wanting to watch it.
I know, because I know the outcome, and I know how it killed one of my favorite wrestlers. Well, it didn't kill, but it took the career of one of my favorite wrestlers. I will never watch that match, period. So, anyway, on to the what I felt, and I don't know if you agree, but probably the best tag match of the year. Which is hard because there were two. There was one at NXT UK that I thought was amazing. And then there was that junior heavyweight match on night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. But I felt like the Kenta and White match against Naito and Sonata might be my tag team match of the year right now.
Wait, you're being a straight man now, right? You're not serious.
No, I am 100% serious.
Because I thought Goto and Ishii taking on Evil and Shingo was just balls out amazing.
Okay, to be honest, I haven't watched that one yet. I had to time consume. I went with the matches that I thought were going to be the best, and when I saw Goto in a match, I was like, eh.
No, dude, that match is so hard hitting. It's incredible.
All right, I'll have to watch that one. Honest to God, I haven't watched that one yet. But the match that the main event of that night, and I'll watch that one. We'll talk about it next week or maybe tomorrow on Dynamite, because Lord knows we can't keep a steady pace on anything. But I'll watch that match and I'll get back to you on it. But the whole Kenta Jay White thing, from the start of the match where Kevin Kelly got insulted, and they kind of said, you know what, I knew that nothing happens at Bullet Club without me knowing, and it's all for one for all. And then he kind of, at the end of the match, they did their little promos where he kind of gave Naito to Kenta and said, I'm going after you now, Sonata. And I thought the match itself was phenomenal. Just everything about it, the lead in, the follow, or the lead out, and the match itself was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Amazing character work, amazing wrestling. And it was amazing character work by all 4 guys.
I thought it was really good, but I didn't think it was amazing. I mean, I didn't think it was great, amazing, anything like that. I think you really need to go back and watch the other one.
All right, I'll have to watch the other one and see how they compare against each other. But I really, really love that match. Really love that match. I loved everything about it. And Jay White continues to show how great of a just in-ring performer he is. And not just in-ring, but he's great with wrestling, and he's great with character development. Everything about him right now is hitting top notch. Really, Kat? Seriously, leave my cords alone.
You know, I'm watching, or I'm not watching, but I'm looking at the lineup for the New Beginning in the USA tour, starting on January 24th. And I don't know if you looked at these cards or not, Jeff, but looking at these cards, my 4-word, I guess, synopsis of these cards is, why did they bother?
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of it yet, so I can't comment. But
I mean, the last couple of matches on the last night are pretty decent. I mean, you got a rematch for the tag straps between the Girls of Destiny and Finjuice as the main event. You got Jeff Cobb versus Lance Archer, and you got Kota Ibushi versus Chase Owens. But
yeah, I'm not mad at any of that.
No, but for the most part, I mean, the Rock and Roll Express are on these cards.
Oh dear God!
Yoshihashi's on these cards.
Well, nothing you can say will upset me more than Rock and Roll Express, so don't even bother. Just end it now.
Colt Cabana and Toru Yano are tag teaming on these cards.
I don't care about that. You said Rock and Roll Express. I haven't heard a word since you said that.
At least you and Yuji Nagata are on these cards, though.
I don't know what you're talking right now. You said Rock and Roll Express. I can't even. I just can't.
Yeah. They really kind of screwed this up because they're doing the new beginning in the USA shows at the same time that they're starting the Road 2 shows for the actual new beginning, like in Sapporo, and then in and then of course they got their one in Osaka as usual, and they have one more. I can't think of what the other one is, but I mean really, they really mistimed this where they shouldn't have split the roster the way they did, in my opinion.
I was all in on the new beginning until you said Rock and Roll Express, and I haven't heard a single word you've said since then.
All right, we'll talk about it another day then.
Thank God.
So I guess that means yeah. I am super looking forward though to Sonata versus Jay White.
That's a program that I really am excited for, and I kept saying it during that match. It's like it seems like it's time because Sonata really needs to make his mark to finally get up to upper echelon. And I think Jay White's the perfect opponent to do that too. Even if Jay White comes out of it winning the program, Sonata will benefit from it and get up into that upper echelon.
I don't know, man. I think that Jay White comment is along the same lines as that Austin Theory comment, where White said, if I'm going to beat you and prove that you're just like everybody else, not as good as me. Or whatever, something similar to that, and to me, that's like, Sonata's got to win that match now.
And yeah, he does, and maybe he does. If he doesn't, then it's a whole different situation. But the fact that he said, "You've been getting full of yourself, and you think you're better than you really are," that's a perfect heel setup for that babyface to win. And White doesn't lose anything by losing to Sonata.
No,
he loses nothing. He's still in the same spot. He's still the leader of Bullet Club. The only thing that came out of all of that really, really frustrated me, and we kind of said it that night, last Monday when we were talking about it, is that I don't feel like Kenta deserves a heavyweight title shot. Had the title shot been for the Intercontinental belt, I would have been okay with it. But the fact that he said, "I'm taking both belts from you," meaning that Naito is defending both belts all the time, and we're never going to get that separation again. That kind of frustrated me to a point where I was like, okay, no. Kenta needs to win the Intercontinental title, and Naito needs to keep the world title and defend them separately.
First of all, Kenta is probably the hottest heel in pro wrestling right now, so he should be getting a shot at that championship. Secondly,
not going to disagree with that.
Secondly, I do think that Naito will not be defending those titles in double defenses after this one. What I would love to see happen, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what I'd love to see happen is for Sonata to beat White, and then he comes out at the end of the night and he challenges Naito for the Intercontinental Championship, and he's the one, LIJ versus LIJ, that takes it away from Naito.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I really am.
The other big match that stemmed from the actions or from the events at New Year's Dash that I am really dead set on and happy about is the two Brits, ZSJ, defending the British Heavyweight Championship against Will Ospreay.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun match.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to be a really fun match.
I know that
that's such a clash in styles.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm just tingling right now thinking about it. Oh my God.
I know that you and Imp are going to be super thrilled about the other match that stemmed out of there, which is Okada versus Taichi. But to me, these other two are the better ones that came out of it.
Well, come on. I mean, Taichi, look, is there anyone better? All kidding aside, he has gotten a lot better over the last couple of years, and he's actually put on some decent matches, but no. I mean, Ospreay versus ZSJ, that is a dream match on any continent you're on.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to Sonata versus White. I'm looking forward to Naito versus Kenta. And honestly, it's not too bad that Taichi's going to get a match against Okada. I mean, Okada's got to face somebody, right?
Yeah, because he's kind of out of the heavyweight title for probably the first time since 2013 or 14.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, there was that little bit last year after he lost to White, where he went through his balloon phase. But it was always considered that, like, okay, yeah, he can Omega and Tanahashi. This might be the first time that Okada has legitimately been out of that heavyweight title picture in probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll be back there by the end of the year. He might even be wrestling for the championship at Wrestle Kingdom. But I'd be very surprised if Tetsuya Naito did not hold the title until at least January 4th next year.
I'm hoping, and if he doesn't, I think it's a failure. I think they dropped the bolt.
Yeah.
Belt something. They dropped something.
I mean, it wouldn't kill him to drop it at Dominion, but I mean, I do think he's going to hold it till
he needs to go longer than that. He needs to go longer than 6 months. I think for everything they put him through, he needs to go at least that 1 full year before he drops that heavyweight belt.
Yeah, especially if he's going to drop the other belt,
Right.
If he's going to drop the white belt, he's got to hang on to the black one.
Right. Exactly.
That was not racist. I'm just saying that's the color of the leather, guys.
One other real quick note before we get into NXT UK. Marty Scurll. See what happened with him?
I saw that
re-signed with Ring of Honor and joined.
Did he? Is that actually been officially announced now?
From everything I've seen, he is re-signed and he is now a member of the booking team.
That is very interesting.
And if that is the case, if Ring of Honor does not build their brand around Marty Scurll,
they won't have a brand to build around at all anymore.
I was done with them after this whole PCO thing. The way that they treated Matt Taven, the way that they put the belt on PCO in that horrible, horrible match of Final Battle. But with Marty Scurll, if he re-signed and is legitimately going to be a cornerstone of Ring of Honor, they need to make him a cornerstone. He needs to be the focal point of that brand going forward in every aspect.
Yeah, but you know what the fact is? He should have been for the last year and a half.
Oh, I agree.
So it's hard for me to look at this and what Marty did and think it was a great decision.
No, I'm not going to disagree with that. But at the same point, at this point, if he did actually re-sign with them and put his name on that bottom line and everything, they need to. And if they don't, it's on both them. It's on Marty, it's on Ring of Honor, it's on everybody at that point. Sorry, doing dishes.
Sure, that's what you're doing.
Multitasking.
Yeah. This announcement I see here is that ROH, is that Marty Scurll is a new head booker for ROH.
Yep, which is good. We get rid of Bully, and he had his run. He did a lot of good things, but he really kind of lost sight towards the middle to end of last year. So if Marty is the head booker, and the problem with Marty being the head booker is now you end up in Dusty Rhodes categories where he's like, oh, he's putting himself there because he's the booker.
I suppose, but at the same time, he should have been the champion all along. So if he's going to make himself the champion, I think it's actually just kind of righting a wrong.
True. That I can't disagree with that. That is really, really true. But yeah, it looks like everything's pointing to him re-signing, which is not what I thought. I mean, he has all of his friends are in either AEW or NWA. The fact that he actually took charge and decided to stay with Ring of Honor is shocking.
It is. But you know, I was there at All In. You know, and I was there when Cody Rhodes said, and I'm sorry, when Matt Jackson said, this pack of bandits is sticking together. And you know who wasn't in the ring at that time?
Marty
Scurll. You know, Hangman Page was there, Kenny Omega was there, the Young Bucks were there, Brandy was there, Cody was there, but Marty was in the back. So, you know, it's you know what Matt Jackson is still true. Those guys still stuck together. Marty's just always kind of been his own guy. You know, you said 6 months ago that you would not be shocked if Marty did not sign with AEW because he's never wanted to work for a big wrestling promotion. He's always wanted to be an independent guy.
Well, he's always said it. After when he did the was it British boot camp with TNA at the time.
God, this Manhattan.
He's shut up. When he did the British boot camp with TNA, he said at that time during his whole Party Marty stage
I had a chocolate martini
he was not. He didn't want to be
chocolate. Martini, I say.
Yeah, that's disgusting. He said at that point that he never really wanted to be that mainstream guy. And there was an episode of Being the Elite last year before AEW even started where he talked about being an independent wrestler and being able to make his own bookings and how much freedom that has, being your own boss and not having to rely on somebody else for a contract and all that stuff.
Sure.
It kind of led to that point where it just seemed like he was not going to be that that corporate guy. And when AEW became that corporate entity, Marty became the kind of the odd man out because of everything he stood for years. Now, personally, I wish he had signed with AEW. I'd love to see him on weekly TV. But if Ring of Honor can figure it out and actually make him one of the focal points and bring this brand back around, I might start watching it again. He is still one of my favorite. I mean, Jesus, when this first started, we couldn't go an episode without talking about Marty Scurll at least 7 times because I loved him so much.
You know, I'm very happy for Marty that he got this contract. I'm happy for Ring of Honor that they signed him, for the NWA for getting to use Marty, for the NJPW for still getting to use Marty, and for Marty in general as a person that he's getting this opportunity and this money. And we were thrilled for Matt Taven when he got paid in, October? Where he was getting triple what he was being offered by NXT. But doesn't it make you wonder what the fuck Sinclair was doing all these years when they let Adam Cole leave, and they let Kyle O'Reilly leave, and they let Samoa Joe go, and they didn't have Samoa Joe at the time, but, you know, they let Roddy Strong leave, and they let Nigel go, and now they let Punishment Martinez go.
Bryan Danielson left,
and you know, it's like they let Kevin Kelly go because they didn't want to pay him, for God's sake. I mean, what the hell have they been shoving up their asses along with their heads? That's not been letting them sign these guys that they would have been able to keep, and they'd have such an incredible roster right now. Wouldn't have to be rebuilding every damn year.
Maybe, hopefully, this is that turning point. We thought it with the Young Bucks when they signed, and it kind of was for a while. I mean, there was a good 3-4 years where Ring of Honor was making a serious run at that number 2 promotion in the U.S. And they kind of let it go last year, and it's hard to fault them because the Bucks, Cody, Paige, they all got an opportunity of a lifetime. Maybe this is Ring of Honor's chance to kind of start all over and do it again. I mean, I can't imagine Marty Scurll getting the opportunity of a lifetime in 3 years.
But there's nobody on the current roster other than, Marty, maybe Jeff Cobb, maybe Shane Taylor, that I look at those guys and go, they're even close to the level of the guys they let slip away the last few years. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Roderick Strong.
I mean, Taven, pretty much all the Kingdom could be on that level if they let him shine. Taven is one of the top heel.
Not Breaking McBreaking Face. He's never going to get there.
You don't think so?
No, because he can't go a couple of months without getting injured.
Yeah, but that's not his fault. There's always a guardrail in his way or something. Come on, I like TK. I have to give him some love. But, I mean, even if you take TK out, Vinny and Taven are two guys you could really... I mean, they're still both young. You could really build a division around them, and then you have... you add Marty to that and Jeff Cobb. And Brody Coyle is another one that could be there. Shane Taylor. They do have some talent.
Brody King, you mean?
Granted... It's really what?
Brody King.
Yeah, so who would I say?
You said Brody Coyle.
Brody Coyle. Yeah, Brody King. They have the talent to actually make something of it. They just need to stop pushing people like Roosh and PCO. Can they do that? I
don't know. I mean,
can they stop? Can they stop pushing the flavor of the month?
I mean, I'm still of the opinion, and I probably always will be, that yeah, they're the greatest tag team in the history of the promotion, but Jay Briscoe and Mark Briscoe are going to be much more valuable with vertical booking than they are with horizontal booking. Jay Briscoe to me should be the Ric Flair of that promotion. And Mark Briscoe is damn good himself. He could easily be a staple in that mid-card. Or even battling his brother for the world championship. We saw those guys kick each other's butt a couple of years ago on the Jericho Cruise, And
right.
And that was a hell of a lot of fun. And I think Mark has value that has never been really exploited.
No. It's always gone to Jay.
And they've got enough tag teams in that division right now. They could easily put those guys, and maybe they don't want to be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know those guys. Maybe they want to be a tag team, and they're good at it. But I mean, I feel like they've done everything they possibly can in the tag division. They've had matches of the year. They're 11-time champions. They already had the storyline where they couldn't get the job done, and they came back and did it. They're magic in that division, but I think they can be magic other divisions too. Jay has already proven it, and I think Mark is an unproven commodity. And they're so young right now still. I mean, they started in 2002 when they were 16 and 18. So now, 17 years later, they're right at that peak level we talked about on Wednesday night for guys.
Yeah, that is true. And I think they both still have the talent. I don't know yet if they need to continue what they're doing, because I like what they're doing with the whole kind of almost tweener, love me or hate me type characters they have. But I think you're right. I think eventually they're both so talented that either one of them could be a staple of any of the divisions. I wouldn't be mad at Jay or Mark with the World Heavyweight title, to be honest with you.
Not at all. And I would, and I think honestly, Mark versus Marty. Like say Mark beats PCO for that championship, and then at Best in the World we got Mark versus Marty. That would be a hell of a fun match. Those two guys with their kind of insane personalities and their antics in the ring. I think those guys would be a great counterparts to each other.
The one thing I want to see out of this is I want to see Marty back to being his villain. I don't want to see him as being what he's been over the last 3-4 months. I don't think that character has fit him well. I want to see him back to being the medicine mask wearing villain that he has been for years, that made him one of the best in the world.
Yeah, and I mean, let's skip Gordon, Flip Gordon. Sorry, let Flip Gordon take over Villain Enterprises. Let Marty be Marty.
Yeah, exactly. I think once Marty became the CEO of Villain Enterprises, he had a good 2 or 3 month run where he was still himself, but then he became something completely different. He needs to go back to being Marty.
Yeah, and thank goodness they dropped those belts this past weekend.
I didn't know that. Spoiler. Now I'm never going to watch it. Oh, wait. I wasn't going to anyway.
Yeah, Flamito, Bandito, and somebody else beat them for the 6-man straps this weekend at center stage.
Whatever.
But I mean, that frees up. That
really don't care.
No, not really, except for that it frees up Marty from having to be one of those champions.
That's true. That is true.
And it makes sense that their world champion wouldn't also be part of the 6-man champions.
Very true. So we are now well over an hour, which was, yeah, I know. And we still haven't gotten it.
I mean, the Tessa thing cropped up over the weekend. This Marty thing cropped up over the weekend. So.
Yep, and there was, and we hadn't discussed really New Year's Dash. So, one last thing before. I mean, we're an hour and 2 minutes in right now. Not much I really care to talk about NXT UK. I felt like the only real notable matches were Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin, which match of the year. It's a match of the year contender. I thought that match was one of the best I've seen in a very long time.
See, and then that's one for me where I can't help feeling that the wrong guy won, and when the wrong guy wins, it takes away half a star from me.
I won't disagree with that. I think Jordan Devlin should have won that. But, man, that was some of the hardest hitting I've seen outside of Japan in a very long time.
That's true.
And then you followed that up with that tag match, which I thought was amazing. And that one I actually felt like the right guys won it, with Gallus winning that one. And then that heavyweight title match, which was probably the first time I physically felt pain sitting on my couch watching a match since Shibata versus Ishii.
Oh, I thought you were going to say since Dunn versus Coffey last year.
No. Dunn versus Coffey was great, and I still think better than this, but this one hurt. There were some of the things these two did to each other that literally hurt me on my couch.
I felt the same way about this one. Like, I felt like, it was a great match, but, Joe Coffey last year barely lost to Pete Dunne. And now this year he barely loses to Walter. And I thought, and that interference in that match drove me nuts.
Oh yeah.
Not only should Walter not require any help to beat anybody, but secondly, it just tarnished that match completely. Not the running at the end, and I want to make it clear, not Undisputed Era attacking at the end. I'm talking about when I can't even think of their names, but when those two guys came in and
Wolf and Alexander Wolf and is it Bittner? No, I can't think of his name. But that part really actually irritated me. Because when they went for their move against Joe Coffey to incapacitate him, Eichner actually hit Wolf and not Joe Coffey. Yet Joe Coffey still sold that knee injury like it was the worst thing that's ever happened to him and lost the match. That annoyed me a lot.
Yeah. It was awful, I thought. Everything else, I mean, the rest of that match was great. You know, I loved, like you said, it was super hard hitting, and it did feel painful, but at the same time,
Joe Coffey, when he did that dive,
that interference, like, just totally ruined it for me.
Well, and then you had Joe Coffey, Walter, who needed the interference at the end to win, but yet he still felt strong enough to take on all 4 members of the Undisputed Era.
Also, he almost fell off the top rope, which made me laugh.
Well, yeah, that too. But no, when you're looking at the match stealing performance of this night, I mean, it has to be Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin. Yeah, I agree with you. Jordan Devlin probably should have won that match, but man, those two beat the shit out of each other.
They did.
There were when they got in that punch exchange in the middle of the match. I've talked about before about how that ooh and ah exchange in the middle of every match is so annoying, but the way these two did it was perfection. They were landing straight closed fist punches that just were devastating. And yeah, wrestling punches, but whatever.
Who cares? Yeah, it was. I know. I honestly, I enjoyed the women's match too, but you know.
I did too, but I don't ever want to see Piper Niven on my TV again, ever.
Why?
Ever. She's not good. She needs a lot more seasoning. She needs to not try to be the athletic women type wrestler that she was trying to be.
It did feel like she was Senton Girl, didn't it?
Yeah. She was trying too hard to do the high-flying athletic moves that Toni Storm and Kaylee Ray were doing. And with her size, she needs to be that Awesome Kong, Nyla Rose type wrestler, and not so much trying to keep up with the high-flying people.
Right. I agree.
That was my only negative about that match. I thought Toni Storm was astonishing. I thought she was just absolutely amazing in this match. I thought she might have. This match had it not been for Piper Niven, I felt like the other two put on a match of the night match. I really did.
And Toni Storm has improved so much over the last year. It's incredible.
Right. She's gotten really, really good. And as much as I'm not a fan of Kaylee Ray, I felt like she really shone in this match too. Just her character development, the way that she kind of stood on the outside, sneering at everybody and not really getting involved. I thought she did a great, great job too. But I cannot take away from that. No matter where we go from this, that Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin match is easily in my top 5 matches of the year right now. Easily.
On January 14th.
Exactly. And this is going to be harder than last year. I mean, last year we had some great matches in those first couple of weeks, but nothing like this year.
Yeah. I mean, you've got well, we both have Ospreay and Takahashi.
Oh, absolutely.
We both have Jordan Devlin versus
Tyler Bate.
Although again, for me, it's it loses half a star for who won. We both have, and then we both have a Naito match. We both have an Okada match. You have Okada Ibushi. I have Okada Naito.
Right.
And I'm not going to argue either way. It's just the match quality has been. And actually, honestly, I've got Ibushi White too. That was great.
Yeah, that was great too. And Naito Ibushi or Naito White again was, as usual, a great match. We also have that Cody Allen the Darby Allin Cody match.
Was that from this year?
That was the very first match of this year.
Yeah, that's right. It was. Yeah.
on Dynamite. It's we are in for a hell of a year if we're 3 weeks in. Not even. Are we even 3 weeks in?
Nope.
We're 2 weeks in.
2 weeks in.
And we've already got a handful of matches
that. And this is the 14th day of the year, brother.
And we are already at a point where there are so many top quality matches. God, this is going to be a tough year, and we're going to end up bailing out on again like we did this year, and just say, "Oh yeah, the rest of the year was this guy. Let's talk about something else now."
My boy Rich Latta from One Nation Radio, he used to also have a show here on LOP Radio. Like, he used a spreadsheet of matches every year, and I think we're gonna have to start one.
We're gonna have to if this keeps up. Seriously, I mean, we've already got 5-6 matches of the year contenders, and we're only 4 shows in. Well, 5.
And actually, shout
out
to
if you count
Rich,
that very first AEW.
And actually, I want to say a shout out to Rich, who just got engaged about 2 weeks ago. So congratulations, Rich.
Oh yeah, congrats, man. Sorry for your loss. Sorry, I've been there twice. I might have a little bit of hard feelings for that, but
maybe one day they'll have to play "The Death of a Single Man" by Brad Paisley on here for him.
We're gonna have to. All right. I don't know. You got anything else to talk about?
No, I mean, I felt the same way about you, man. I thought Blackpool was a solid show, but when I looked at that card, I said, "Oh my God," and I didn't feel like it was an "Oh my God" show. You know.
No, it was. In that aspect, it was different than last year, but I think a lot of it was because we had more of the top 3 or 4 guys condensed in the top 2 matches.
Actually, let's talk a little bit about the Dead Tag Ladder match, because you had texted me last night and said how great it was before I'd had a chance to see it. And
oh man, it was great. It really was good.
And maybe it was just because you had told me that, and I was expecting more. But and there was a lot of exciting action in it, but it also felt like it's never going to be up there in my tag matches of the year, simply because it doesn't have the story that that a regular tag match would have, or that two teams in there would have when you got those 4 guys. So I mean, it's just spectacular spot after spectacular spot, and a great finish and some great stuff in there. Really, that with callbacks to previous matches, not just these guys' previous matches, but like previous ladder matches we've seen in the past. But all in all, I don't see how this match is going to be up there, 11 months from now.
This is my second ever 4-way ladder match. The last one was ruined by Jackson Riker coming out and destroying everybody.
Okay.
This one didn't have that. So I felt like the right people won it. I felt like there was enough high spots and enough of those holy shit, that guy just died type of moments where it may have just barely eked out that 4-way match from New Year's Dash.
And the other thing with this one is there was way too much Mark Andrews in it.
Yeah, all right, I'll give you that.
Sorry, I have a hard time. Ever since he called himself Mandrews, I can't stand that guy.
And I've never been a big fan of Flash Morgan Webster either.
Oh,
I think
love
his
that
suits,
dude.
His suits are annoying.
But
it's so annoying.
But Zach Gibson and what's his partner's name? Drake. Those guys.
The Grizzled Young Veterans were amazing.
I love those dudes. And Gallus was great.
Yep, and I really liked Eichner and Barthel too. I thought they were both great in this match too.
Yeah.
I think this would have been much better as a triple threat than a 4-way, simply because I don't like the other two. But it was hard to not say this is right up there. But like you said, it's January 14th. I literally just watched this match today. So, last night. So is it going to hold up? Probably not. We still have another GOD versus Briscoe Brothers war to go through this year. So it's not going to be there at the end. Absolutely. You know they're going to be.
No,
Although
not,
it is
I don't,
hard.
I don't think those companies are working together anymore.
I was just going to say it's hard to tell because it doesn't seem like they work together anymore. And I think a lot of it might be because of the CMLL thing with Roosh and Really.
I also just don't think that NJPW needs to be tying themselves to that ship. You know, I don't think they need to be tying themselves to AEW either. I mean, I really think what they need to do is promote the hell out of New Japan World and make it available on every platform, not just Amazon Kindle. I mean, you should be able to watch it on your Xbox or your PS4 or your Roku. You know, it shouldn't matter what you have. You should be able to watch it in AEW World.
And I think their American expansion is going to help out a lot.
Well, if they don't put on the cards like they put on with the
true.
Diamond. And oh, by the way, speaking of Rock and Roll Express, you are aware that they're also the current NWA World Tag Team Champions.
No, shut up. I don't want to hear. I don't care. That company is dead to me when they put them in a main event. They put two 60-plus-year-olds in a main event. I'm done with them. I don't care who their champions are. Oh, yeah, and Scott Steiner's there now, too, by the way.
Of course he is.
That's right. Big Papa Pump debuted tonight.
Well, Jeff, I've only got one thing to say to that.
Fuck off.
If you hear me.
Oh. And I just ruined the PG-13 rating too, by the way.
No, I already said that earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, fine. You screwed it up then.
So I guess that means that you're not planning on watching Hard Times on January 24th.
Yeah, probably not. I think I'll pass. It sucks because I love Eli Drake so much, and I've always been a Kennedy fan or Mr. Anderson fan. But man, and of course, you know my fascination with Nick Aldis. But man, I can't do it.
Go ahead.
You take three great wrestlers and surround them with garbage. It doesn't work out.
It does not. The other thing I wanted to say, I guess about, just backtracking to NXT Takeover Blackpool is, I absolutely loathe the decision by WWE to move the takeovers to Sundays. You know, I loved them being on Saturdays. You know, I love the fact that I can like kick back and relax on a Saturday and watch it, or I can like time delay it and watch it like Sunday morning while my wife is still sleeping, right. or she can get up and she can like while I'm watching it, she can do her diamond painting or whatever. You know, if it's on a Sunday night, you know, I have to work Monday morning. We have a show on Monday. It really kind of screws everything up for us. And you know, I realize that Sunday is like the traditional pay-per-view day, but it's been kind of changing. It changed with NXT Takeover. It's changed with AEW. It changed with the NWA. It changed with MLW. You know, New Japan does their shows whenever they set a date for them.
Whenever they like to. They just don't care.
And now to move
it's Tuesday night. Let's do it
to Sundays. It doesn't feel like, you know. I'm sure they did it to make it feel like, you know, we're a big brand now, like Raw or SmackDown. But really, to me, it just bush league to do that.
Technically, I'm not going to say that because it was UK. So it was actually like 10 a.m. on a Sunday.
That's true, but if you look at the upcoming one for Phoenix, that's also on a Sunday. And
no, it's not.
Phoenix is scheduled on a Sunday.
That's when Worlds Collide, isn't it?
No, Worlds Collide is the day before the Royal Rumble. But
the 25th,
Takeover Phoenix is in February.
All right, you know what? Go fuck them then. I ain't watching it. I don't do Sunday pay-per-views anymore.
I'm just looking at the date to make sure I'm correct about that, but I'm pretty sure what I saw is that they're going to all be on Sundays from now on.
God, I hope not. I hope not. I loved it on that Saturday before the big WWF pay-per-views or WWE pay-per-views.
Oh, Takeover Portland. Actually, Phoenix was last year, so Takeover Portland is on February 16th.
They still do stuff in Portland? I didn't know that was a thing anymore. Anyway, okay, so, yeah, I'm not watching it.
Yeah, so
I'll
February
get to it when I
17th
get
is
to it.
President's Day, which means that's on a Monday. February 16th is on a Sunday. So, they can F off.
Ugh. Yeah. They could just on Valentine's Day or something. It's not like I'm doing anything this year anyway.
You know, I love that name, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, for a pay-per-view.
Wasn't there one? Was that was a 90s WWF thing, wasn't it?
2000, I believe. It was the one where it ended with Mankind and Mankind and The Rock knocked each other out in a last man standing match. And that was also the night that the Big Show debuted for WWE. So maybe it was 99.
Was that the one where Rock beat him over the head with like 15 chair shots?
No, it was the month after that. The one where they knocked each other out with a chair, and then where the Big Show debuted by throwing Steve Austin at the cage, and the cage swung out, and then Austin won the match that way to get his WrestleMania title shot.
Okay. Maybe we'll watch that this week. Maybe that will be my Valentine's Day this year, is watching that pay-per-view again.
Maybe. I have no idea what else we're going to cover next week.
It's going to be better than last year's. I'll say that much.
Well, I'll try to get Hard to Kill in this weekend, but I don't think it's going to happen. So.
Well, yeah, you're still gone, so... Well, I'm sure something will come up. We'll talk about something on Monday. Either way, we have a show tomorrow night.
Dude, I've been away from my wife for a few days. Yeah, definitely when I go home this weekend, something is going to come up.
I may be sick to my stomach now. Are we doing a show tomorrow? Are we doing a show tomorrow? Or do you have to hobnob with bigwigs again?
You know, tomorrow after work, I get done work at 4:30. We're going to go to the Cheesecake Factory for supper. But I should be back here in time to watch Dynamite and then cover it with you at 9 o'clock.
All right. So we'll play it by ear, but that's the goal.
Yeah. I don't you love all these humble brags I'm doing?
Yeah. All right, guys, tune in tomorrow. I'm going to try to do it live again tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Hopefully tonight's worked. If the case, join us on youtube.com, and you can listen to us live now and then in replay on our YouTube channel, plus patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. All kinds of great stuff happening there. You get exclusive stuff, and for a small donation, you not only get that exclusive stuff, but you help us out in the long run. And, of course, our Twitter. I am at ReggieCoop. He's at ZanmanLOP. Use hashtag KOH and hashtag DAD, and that'll find everything.
And make sure you tune to all the other LOP radio shows. Like we said, tomorrow night, it will be Jeff and I with Dynamite After Dark, plus it will also be Sports Entertainment is Dead. On Thursday is the Imps LOP Radio Adventure. On Friday, The Right Side of the Pond. And then we'll hit you back next Monday with more Kingdom of Honor. Also, don't forget that on Sunday, there was the LOP radio between Imp and Sir Sam as they were going over the poll for the best matches of the year and the best matches of the decade, which isn't even a thing. The decade does not end until the end of this year. So Jeff and I will cover that when the decade actually ends.
It ended. Maybe. If I still like you by then.
What do you mean it ended? Do you start counting at 0? No, the first year was not year 0, it was year 1. So, 1 through 10 is a decade.
Oh, speaking of which, and that just brought this up. I still want to, and we're going to coordinate this with Imp and hopefully some other LOP guys. We want to set up a March Madness type bracket to crown the greatest champion, not just world champion, not just IC champion, not just tag champions, but the greatest champion of all time. Split them up into 4 different categories and see who's the best of all time.
Yeah.
How's that work for you?
And then we'll tell you why it's Chris Jericho.
Nah, you think Chris Jericho?
How can you be the GOAT and not the greatest world champion of all time?
Because Shawn Michaels is out there. And not the greatest world champion, the greatest champion. You got Bret Hart, who stakes a claim.
Yeah.
I could think of so many others. I just don't. I'm tired right now. I don't want to.
And with
Stay tuned. That's coming soon.
That's all we've got. We'll try to do better next time. This is Shane saying long days, pleasant nights, and Jeff saying
goodbye.